Okay, as promised, we're going to go through a bit of data, and don't worry, it's not going to be too heavy. I'm going to keep it, so the majority of people that view these updates, you know, get to get a grasp of what's going on, hopefully in a lay term manner. So, before we get started, I want to thank those few people that have supported the channel over the last week or so. I really don't know what it is, but always seem to get one or two people that chip in a few bucks, and like I said, it's nothing more than a bit of encouragement. And at the end of the day, uh, you know, that bit of money goes to fund the website and all the other research that goes into this channel, such as the trimagnetometer station, which is still underway. We're still trying to knock the bugs out, believe it or not, of the data writer. And as soon as I can get 5 minutes. I mean, I'm literally flat out with all other stuff at the moment. But as soon as I get 5 minutes, I'm going to drop into a university, get their electronics team to have a look at it and see what can happen. But it's not for the will of trying, guys. It's almost proved an impossible task, and it's frustrating as well because I've nearly got there with it. This is the last bit. Getting the data writ onto the SD card is the last bit, and we can start banging out the data weekly, making over 1,000 readings on the heading of the magnetic North Pole. And not only that, once we get the data card, putting the information onto the SD card, we can also include a few of the sensors like the FMG3, which will measure the strength and over a period of time the depletion of the magnetosphere. So, some real science going on this channel, guys, for you to get involved with if you want to. Like I say, it's voluntary, it's not compulsory. But thanks for those people that always seem to be, there. Right, let's move on. We're looking at pictures of Jupiter, and at the time, in June 2009, you can see the lower belt, and in May 2010. The significance of this picture is that in our solar system, great changes do occur, and this is, the proof of that. I believe these photos were taken by the space satellite telescope Hubble, and as you can see, a complete weather system disappeared in a short period of time. We've seen other photos of Mars having similar effects, almost like an atmosphere and a cloud covering had appeared over the surface of Mars for a brief period of time and then disappeared again. And I speculated at that point whether that was down to the fact that a rekindling possibly of the magnetosphere had occurred, and as a result a temporarily blocked out sputtering, which is an effect that strips away atmospheres, and it's said that it is what was responsible for totally stripping away the atmosphere on Mars. And following that, the water would have gone as well. So all the liquid, other than what is left in ice on the caps now, would have been removed through possibly sputtering. So let's have a look at the data then, with regards to the actual pole shift and what has happened as we've been monitoring the pole shift since the 1900s, early 1900s to almost the present day. Let's have a look at what's been happening then on the scale with regards to earthquakes, volcanoes, and weather systems and anomalies such as tornadoes. And let's see if we can see if there is a pattern forming with not only those things I've mentioned, but also the pole migration. So let's get into some of the data. So again, what we noticed around 1900s was the beginning of the migration of the magnetic North Pole, and what we can see is as time's gone on, with regards to earthquakes since 1900 to 2014, we've seen increases in the frequency or the amount of earthquakes that have taken place. Let's compare that with some of the data such as tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, etc. Now, although the frequency of tornadoes chart only shows data going back to 1970, we can see the significance of the increase in tornadoes over at least a 20, 25, 30-year period. Now, comparing that with the pole migration, we can see that at least from the 1900s, there has been at least 2 or 3 increases. Now, this is what I'm talking about, where the magnetic North Pole is covering more distance over shorter periods of time. If you look at this scale, it's almost like there has been 3 or 4 gear shifts in the pole migration, and we see the same correlations with the other anomalies such as volcanic activity, tornado activity, and earthquakes. And this is why I say, that these are all linked. Now, although we're only interested in around about the 1900s, where we see the magnetic pole shift with the correlation between pole shift and volcano activity, what we see is, at least from the 1900s, an increase. Although from 1790s we see an increase up until the 1900s. And again, with the experiment that I conducted with the magnet, as we heated up the magnet, it lost its strength. Now, we're seeing a weakening of the magnetosphere. And, what I'm suggesting here is that well before, the poles started to weaken enough to migrate, that there was possibly an internal core heating. And I think that this core heating may be responsible for the outgassing, at least, or the eruptions increasing over the period of time. But again, you can see that it almost steps up in gears, just as the earthquakes do. And it should come as no surprise that if we're getting more volcanic activity or outgassing, pressure building up in the core, possibly because it's getting hotter. We know that heat weakens the magnetic anomalies in material, and as a result, we're going to get more eruptions and more earthquake activity. So that's what's been affected on the innards of the Earth, of the core, and how it affects the crust. When we overlay all the data of the pole migration, the tornadoes, the volcanoes, and the earthquakes on the same chart, we see something significant. And this is what science is all about: adding the data to other concepts. And in this case, we're lucky enough to see what is going on. Not only is it visible to see where these gear shifts almost increase in speed since the 1900s, but we also see at the same points increases in the tornadoes happening in more frequency, increasing in the volcanoes happening more frequency, and earthquakes the same over the same period of time. So I don't think that this is by just coincidence that around the same time periods, all of these things shift, an increasing rate. What I'm saying is, I believe what's the main driver, as I've said many times on this channel, the main driver of everything, the most important part of planetary mechanics, has to be the magnetic poles. And when you start to see fluctuations in the magnetic poles, perhaps it's a time to be concerned, because as we see shortly after we get an increase in volcanic activity, we start to get a pole migration and earthquakes, and as a result it starts to have adverse effects on the environment and climate of the Earth. Now, I've stated many times, it's no big secret. These organisations are announcing magnetic pole reversal in this period of time. But the thing is, guys, as I've mentioned recently in the videos, is that the pole, as you can see, was tracking on a single vector towards Siberia, and around 2014 that vector changed. Now, it's one thing, first of all, to note that during this period of time, since the 1900s, the magnetic North Pole is migrating across the northern hemisphere. The second thing is that we've been noticing the gear changes, where it's been increasing speed, covering more distance in less time. But we have seen it divert off that course towards Siberia now, heading in a southeasterly direction. And this is a sign of something changing in the magnetic pole migration. This is a deviation. This is the pole wandering, and I believe that at this point in time, greater changes are going to be noted. I believe that we're going to see a further increase in the magnetic pole deviation. First of all, some are speculating that it's heading towards the United Kingdom. Well, I'll tell you one thing that is certainly noticeable in the United Kingdom is the frequency of sundogs, and those are caused through cirrus clouds, and as a result of those ice crystals in them cirrus clouds we get sundogs, and those are becoming more frequently. Even the media this year have picked up on the noctilucent clouds, giving these like rainbow ball effects, and even yourselves have noticed them and mentioned them to me over the year. Well, I noticed these 5 years ago now on this channel, and I've been talking about these things are not common over the United Kingdom. This is something that is more common over the Arctic region, not over the United Kingdom. So, we are noticing these changes. Not only are we recording the data on these anomalies and their rate of change, but this really is happening, guys, in our times. So it's remarkably, in my opinion, important, because okay, since the 1900s the pole has been migrating, but let's go back a little bit of time. When was the last time in the Earth's history the poles migrated and reversed? Well, it was 780,000 years ago. Prior to that, it was on average around 300,000 years. There are lots of questions raised. Why did it take another 300,000 to 400,000 years before it began its reversal in our time? And is this just something that we're noticing with regards to the other anomalies increasing, such as the earthquakes? And I've got to say, and you guys know as well, that USGS are not recording the magnitude of the earthquakes honestly anymore. It's we see them downgrade a 7.5 to a 6.5 or even a 5.5 earthquake, and I believe that is a slight panic setting in within these organisations and trying to calm the majority of people on this planet. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're not broadcasting it, because the implications of this pole shift are looking to be, and I'm not trying to frighten people, but looking to be extremely devastating. When magnetic poles do not locate, they just simply peter out. It can destroy biodiversities on planets. If we look at Mars, there is very little life on Mars noticeable. There might be yet discovered microbial life forms on Mars, trapped possibly in the ice or beneath the surface, but certainly not in the diversity that it is on this planet. So it is something to bear in mind. And there's a great video done by Nova. It's on the website, and I will put the link down in the comment section for you to have a look at that. It's well worth a look if you've not seen it, because I think it really does send home the message of the magnetic North Pole migrating and some of the implications that it's going to have. I think we've covered the majority of them. We know it's affecting the climate. We know that the magnetic North Pole in its migration is dragging the climate of the Arctic regions with it. So, we are seeing in the South China Islands, new record low temperatures and snow, and we are witnessing, thousands and thousands of heads of cattle dying because of the temperature. I've seen photographs where the herders are literally lighting fires underneath the cattle to keep them alive. It's got that bad, and it's going to get worse. The other thing that gets hit hard is the diversity of plant life. Of course, we depend on staple foods, and they need climates suitable for them to survive. If the climate starts to shift, it's going to affect the agricultural production of food on this planet, and massively. Remember, there are 7 billion people on this planet right now, and we all do that one thing: eat. So, it's important for food to be in production, and the climate and the changing climate can affect that. Just before I finish this video, I want to just briefly touch on the effects of a weakening magnetosphere. As you can see from the 2012 Space Environment Overview, that if we look at the cosmic rays during 2006 to 2013, there is a significant increase, and that is down to a reduction in strength of around about 20% plus in the magnetosphere. That is what shields the cosmic rays entering the Earth's surface. You know yourself as well as I do the implications of cosmic rays. First of all, they create seed platforms for clouds to precipitate and drop their water. So we end up with more, as a result of more cosmic rays, we end up with more rain cloud at lower levels. But the other significance is that it's it's cancer causing to all biodiversity on the planet. You have an increase in cosmic rays, then you increase the chances of cancer. I could add, I suppose, the increase in cancer over onto those charts that we've got. We could keep adding lots more onto those charts, and I bet you would see the same picture. I've said, there is things that you can do to prevent, cosmic rays, attacking your cellular reproduction, and that stems from the Apollo missions with regards to antioxidants. They found that they'd never be able to load up the capsules with the amount of lead that they would need to block a significant amount of cosmic rays. So their next step was to look at how the body could cope better, and as a result of that, the antioxidants was given to the astronauts to slow the cellular reproduction down, and therefore giving the cell more time to repair if it was damaged by cosmic rays. So guys, we've covered a bit of data, and we've done it in a lighter manner, and I hope that you've been able to follow it. It's not in-depth data and number crunching. That's not what I intend to do on this channel. I want to make it in a palatable form that average Joe can look at it and get the picture of what's going on. We face some testing times, and it's not just what is going on with the planet and the magnetosphere and the magnetic poles and the volcanoes and all the other anomalies. it's what's going on with ourselves. And I've mentioned in other videos, that I do believe that we have a connection with everything else. We've just, struggled at this point to join the dots up so that we completely fully understand that. But that's topic and conversation from other times. Guys, you know, keep the support coming. I've not give up on this channel. I've sacrificed quite a bit for this channel in time and other things as well. And like I say, those people that donate certainly encourage me to keep it going, and it also funds some of the other stuff as well. If these guys at the university over the coming weeks can do something for us, then I certainly want to buy them a couple of crates of beers for their time that they'll invest in debugging the data writer on the trimagnetometer station. So you can help if you want to. It's like I say, it's not compulsory, it's not mandatory, it's voluntary. It's nice to know that the people are supporting me as well. So I'll put the link down there, and I hope that this has shed a bit more light on the topic of magnetic pole shift for yourselves. And also, what I usually do, guys, you enjoy the rest of the weekend that's coming up, and this won't be the last update that you'll get from me. So take care, and as always, bye for now. When we look at the pole migration over 40-year intervals, it seems to draw out the trend even more of those increases in speed.